Tell me about MegaETH.
MegaETH is the first real-time blockchain. We leverage a technique called node specialization to extract the maximum amount of performance possible while being able to settle onto Ethereum, which is the most decentralized settlement layer in the world. Solana is less decentralized than Ethereum. They know it, or they're okay with it, they're fine with it. They're way more performant than Ethereum. Our sequencer is 100 times beefier than a Solana node, and our validators are 100 times lighter than an Ethereum node. The end result is this level of performance, which has never been seen before in crypto. We're never going to decentralize our sequencer because we will never reintroduce consensus. We just ship fast and we're allowed. We truly believe we can make Ethereum great again, and I think we found a lot of people who feel the same way.
We're in Thailand with Global Blockchain Show, and today I'm with Namik from MegaETH.
Hey, how's it going, Mia?
Welcome.
Thank you. Proud to be here.
Tell me about MegaETH.
Sure. I guess a quick TLDR. MegaETH is the first real-time blockchain. We leverage a technique called node specialization to extract the maximum amount of performance possible while being able to settle onto Ethereum, which is the most decentralized settlement layer in the world. MegaETH enables real-time applications. So we're talking about applications which leverage our design choices to enable 100K TPS and 10 millisecond block times, and they build applications which are only possible with MegaETH.
How is this possible?
How is the performance possible?
Yes.
So effectively, when you look at the history of blockchains, you will keep hearing about this issue called the blockchain trilemma. Mm-hmm. And the TLDR is that performance and decentralization do not go hand in hand, right? Ethereum is the most decentralized settlement layer Turing-complete blockchain in the world, right? They invented smart contracts. And I love their design choices, right? They've prioritized decentralization. But you can't use Ethereum. Like it's not very usable. And what that saw was the emergence of other people who decided to make other decisions on that trade-off spectrum. Like Solana. Solana is less decentralized than Ethereum. They know it, or they're okay with it, they're fine with it. They're way more performant than Ethereum, right? And what does that mean? There are markets, there are applications which are only possible because of the design choices Solana made, right? And that was to trade off decentralization for performance. The issue is, in our opinion, layer ones have to be as decentralized as possible. And that's because consensus is what creates the bottleneck ultimately around performance. The more people you have participating in consensus, by nature, right, the longer it takes to reach consensus, hence performance is not doing too well. And that's just a fact of it. For us at MegaETH, we were like, okay, interesting, tough, but there's always a but. There were really, really amazing work done by some really, really smart people over the past few years around fraud proofs, forced inclusions, ZK proofs, the whole shebang, which created new design matrix, right? Which basically said, hey, as MegaETH, right, let's look at this and let's see if we can build truly performant blockchain by effectively looking at these new designs and these new techniques and taking them to their absolute extreme. So, funnily enough, MegaETH was first described back in 2021 by Vitalik in his famous piece called The Endgame. In The Endgame, he understood that the logical construction for these execution environments that can settle on Ethereum is one where the block production is relatively centralized, right? And block validation is maximally decentralized, right? And how is this possible? Well, because we are able to settle onto Ethereum, we can do this technique I mentioned called node specialization, where we say, hey, on the traditional L1s, nodes are homogeneous, meaning one node does all the tasks associated with a blockchain. Well, on L2, by settling on Ethereum, we can go back to first principles and we can say, hey, what are the tasks associated with a blockchain? Well, there's execution, there's sequencing, dissemination, there's validation. what's the ideal architecture for each of these tasks independently? And you very, very quickly realize, okay, so for validation, you want the node requirement to be as low as possible. Why? So that as many people can do it as possible, right? You want there to be decentralization when it comes to making sure that the blockchain is being fair, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at sequencing and execution, you come to a very different conclusion. You're like, okay, actually, right, this is just performance maximization, right? I want this to be as performant as possible. And my conclusion there is I actually want the node requirements to be very, very beefy. So you have your ideal validation, your ideal sequencing and execution is very, very beefy, very performant. Your ideal validation is very, very light, right? And that's MegaETH's unlock. We said, let's specialize each of the nodes for what they do best. And we're able to do this level of extreme node specialization because we can always get the security of Ethereum by settling on Ethereum, right? And that's very different than every other blockchain today. Our sequencer is 100 times beefier than a Solana node. And our validators are 100 times lighter than an Ethereum node. So in a lot of ways, it's the best of both worlds. And the end result is this level of performance, which has never been seen before in crypto. Again, not selling magic in a bottle. We centralize block production. We've made design choices. There are trade-offs to these design choices. Happy to go through them with you as well. But the end outcome is performance you've never seen before in crypto and a level of interactiveness that you've never been able to see before in crypto as well, right? Having 10 millisecond block times, this level of pre-confirmation latency has really never been done before, and it allows a level of interaction of the blockchain that we believe will facilitate net new applications. And we've seen tier one founders, it clicks, boom, boom, they're in. And then they start building insane apps, which the market has been really excited about.
What were some of these trade-offs?
Sure. So there's two. The first is the trade-offs associated with traditional layer 2, right? At the moment, MegaETH has an optimistic construction, which means we have 7-day challenger periods, right? And that sucks. Luckily, we only focus on execution, right? Those kinds of mechanisms, we actually off-source. We believe in domain expertise. So we're working closely with some of these ZK players, talking to them about what a ZK construction would look like for MegaETH as well. But the first one is that our sense of resistance is not as robust as that of like a layer 1 like Ethereum, right? Now, that's the trade-off that we make for the level of performance. And I think the second trade-off that we have made is we can never become a layer 1. There's a meme. Okay, you know what? Like this L2 is just like, they're on ETH. They don't even give a about the ETH, or who knows? Maybe I shouldn't swear on this podcast, but
you're okay.
Yeah, they don't care about Ethereum, and it's like they're just here because there's all this liquidity and all of these users that they can vampire attack onto the L2, and then one day when they're happy, they'll become an L1, right? And they keep talking about how they're going to decentralize their sequencers. So how much does it even matter? For us, it's a very different approach. We've basically said, okay, we're never going to decentralize our sequencer because we will never reintroduce consensus, right, into the sequencer. Because that decision is only possible because we settle on Ethereum. So yeah, we can never leave Ethereum. We can never become our own layer 1 because by doing that, we would have to give up like 80 to 90% of the performance optimizations we've made, which are unique because of the design information which we've received because of the new layer 2 architecture.
Interesting. How did this idea come together?
Sure. So the lore begins at Stanford, where as all great stories start, right? Elon was effectively completing his PhD in low latency compute, right? He's really, really smart. And he effectively said, okay, I've been able to crack, computation and the latency around computation to microseconds. And he was very, very, advanced in this field, right? There was only top 15 at Stanford. And effectively, he spoke to a bunch of these shops, he talked to a bunch of HFT places, but he's not that kind of guy. And then he started learning about blockchains, and he understood the power of, specialization that's associated with modular blockchain systems. And he got in touch with Lei, right? Lei was also studying his PhD. So Elon was a PhD at Stanford. Lei was finishing his PhD at MIT, studying high throughput networking, right?
Okay.
And Lei is actually, in a lot of ways, blockchain academia aristocracy, right? You've never heard his name. Well, maybe you have, but most people haven't.
Okay.
But in actuality, he co-wrote the initial data availability white paper of Shriram from Eigenlayer. And he worked very closely with David Tsai from Babylon, right? And he really, really understands consensus, and he really, really understands high-performance networking. So two of them join together, right? It's like a story, It's like, what's that famous cartoon about the person who keeps going down the trail and they find new people to join the roster?
I don't know, actually.
And
What is this?
There's like a tornado in it.
Is this the Little Prince?
Wizard of Oz, I think.
Wizard of Oz, okay.
But actually, anyways, who knows? I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. The
Tin
Makes
Can
sense.
Man and all
Makes
of
sense.
that.
Yeah, it's that one.
So picks up Lei, right?
How do they come together? Like, do you know that?
The story of how the two of them connected.
How did they met? Yeah.
Yeah, so effectively there were mutuals between Lei and Elon from Stanford and MIT, and effectively Elon had seen some of Lei's work and reached out to Lei. They got on a phone call, and very quickly, Lei was like, okay, you know what? Elon is one of the few people who have realized that the bottleneck associated with blockchains is not actually hyper-focusing on building new consensus mechanisms. The actual blockchain is on perf and execution. And he's like, this is what I've been thinking all along. He's a genius. Let's do this. So that's how the two of them met. And they started working on initial product, right? And from there, effectively, you had these two brilliant guys building out the blockchain, but they were not necessarily as crypto native in some ways, right? They had a deep, deep understanding for blockchains. But how do you then take this and you make it and productize it? How do you commercialize this? So they were able to get in touch with Shuyao, right? Shuyao was leading global business development at Consensus. And yeah, the rest is history. Shuyao and I joined shortly after. And yeah, that was around 6-7 months ago. The beginning of the
7
year.
months ago. Wow, this is all very recent.
Yeah, I mean, MegaETH is less than a year old.
I thought you guys were around for like a couple of years.
No, we just ship fast and we're loud.
This is crazy. That's great.
Yeah.
So what have you guys been working on? What's the latest?
Sure. So we have had a couple different priorities, right? Day one, we're like, okay, we've made these interesting design choices, and what matters more than anything else is that like these design choices build new companies. They form new companies that have never existed before in crypto. And that was the laser focus. I'm proud to say that we're now up to 16 members of the Mega Mafia, have raised from tier 1 VCs, building applications which were never imagined before, right? Extremely exciting. We've had a lot of momentum, and we're really excited to share more with the community very soon. We now have 16 out of the 20 that we'll ever allow into the Mega Mafia, right? And they are really great, and I'm really, really happy about it. But that's not it. You need more, right? And that was the first focus, and now the focus is community. We built these developers, we built these founders, we brought them from 0 to 1, but there's only so much that someone can do. Now the focus is actually, we built out a team a bit. We're now focusing on getting and building a true community of people who are so excited about the design choices we've made and ultimately the applications that we've made, right? We truly believe we can make Ethereum great again, and I think we found a lot of people who feel the same way. And we're here not to just launch like another chain, right? I didn't leave what I was doing before that. Lei didn't leave. Elon, Shriyan, we're all here because we believe in Ethereum. And most importantly, we believe that blockchains can be so much greater than they are today, right? And the level of performance we're aiming for will make blockchains ready for mass adoption and to actually interact with normal people without it feeling shitty, Like blockchains today suck. They don't feel good. They're slow. That's not going to happen anymore. That's like so cool. So yeah, focusing on building out the community now, and that's really been a big focus. as well as racing towards having something to share with the public, right? We have a execution environment that's actually working. We have it's really performant, and we have some of our mafia deploying on it right now, and they're benchmarking the chain. They'll be sharing exciting stuff throughout the rest of the month. I don't know when this goes live, but they'll be sharing like cool technical, like they're going to be showing the power of the chain themselves. And we look forward to being able to provide something to the market soon in terms of like what end users can interact with, right? Focus is going live Q1. I think that Ethereum is with mainnet. Ethereum is in a really dangerous place in some ways, right? Where effectively like these applications which are new, they can't exist on Ethereum. They can't exist on anything associated with Ethereum. So they go to other L1s instead, right? Like Solana. So for us, we're really top of mind of like, hey, let's build this environment with this level of performance. Let's bring the activity back to Ethereum. Let's bring the values back to Ethereum. Not only is it important to maintain who we have, it's important to bring the people who left to begin with, right? Why did people leave to Solana? They left because they wanted a more performant execution environment. Now we're coming with an environment that's 100 times more performant, right? Not 100, but like 50. Still not bad. And we can scale that out, by the way.
Namik, for everyone watching, where can they find you?
They can find us, they can find me on Twitter, Namik Muduroglu at Twitter, yes.
Namik, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.